The Road to Macstock with Doc Rock and Katie Fawkes of Ecamm. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by our Patreon subscribers. Get access to the MacVoices Slack, the MacVoices Discord, MacVoices After Dark, and have your name listed at the end of each episode of MacVoices. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, a quick note about this particular Road to Macstock interview. It's ironic that I was talking to Doc and Katie of Ecamm about what their presentations at Macstock and how wonderful Ecamm is, because we used Ecamm to record the interview. And unfortunately, we selected a time when there were some storms going on and some bandwidth challenges, so the video is not quite up to what my standards are and also what Ecamm standards are. But sometimes there's just things you can't do anything about. But I wanted to make a special note that no, this was not an Ecamm problem. This was strictly a bandwidth problem. The interview was just too good to decide to redo, so just bear with it. And you will see Doc and Katie live at Macstock, and they'll look a whole lot sharper. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is another Road to Macstock show, but this one's just a little bit different because we're not going to be talking to a presenter at Macstock. We're going to be talking to two of the sponsors of Macstock. And so I'm happy to welcome Katie and Doc from Ecamm to MacVoices. Guys, welcome and Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
It's good to see you. Now, Katie, you and I haven't met before until now, except over email. Doc and I go way back, and we just saw each other at NAB, and so we know where the bodies are buried, and we're not going to get into that. But I'm delighted that I caught you two together in one time zone, because usually, Katie, you're in my time zone on the East Coast, and Doc is usually hanging out in Hawaii, of all places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I came here, and it was 70 on the first day, and it's 40-something now, and I'm super angry at you guys.
We're kind of angry about it too, Doc, but that too.
Yeah, believe me, yeah. It's
So first, let's get first things first. Since usually we are geographically diverse, why, Doc, are you here on the East Coast?
We just had a really cool event. This is our sixth year, which is kind of mind-boggling to us. So we sat down and thought about it. But we do an event called Leap Into. In this case, it was Leaped Into Video, and it's kind of about ripping the Band-Aid, trying to put away the fear, and just diving in, 2 feet first into something. In this case, it was just video in general, because more and more people are having to get into video and don't really know where to start. So we did a 3-day workshop just going through all of the various machinations of how you can use video for your business or for podcasting, just want to be a content creator, like all kind of cool stuff. So it was fun.
Yeah, we learned a ton. It's selfishly, it's one of my favorite events of the year because we are forced to turn off and not pay attention to all the other noise of our day-to-day jobs and actually just get to really learn with the attendees. So we're in all of the sessions, we're listening to all the speakers, and I always leave these events, and honestly, I mean, any event where we're at or are in partnership with, I always leave with my own huge notebook full of notes and ideas and action items. Yeah. So it was a great event. We really enjoyed it.
It was a lot of fun.
Okay, so that sort of just is a perfect segue into what we're going to talk about, and that is Macstock Conference and Expo. You all are sponsors, which I was delighted when I heard about this, and Mike told me, because right now we are using Ecamm to record this interview, and I use Ecamm to record a lot of my interviews. So what are you doing at Macstock? Are you teaching? Are you promoting? Are you doing a session, or are you just hanging out and in Doc's case, causing trouble?
Well, for me, it's going to be a lot of catching up with a bunch of old friends because, everybody there. I think I looked at the speaker list. I pretty much am in a friend relationship with at least 50% of them. So, and then with Kelly and Brett, it's like getting the band back together because we all came from 2 together. So that'll be fun. It just be a lot of fun. I think for me, When we do shows, we don't really go to do a sales pitch or whatever. We go just to show you possibilities and in hopes spark your interest. Once your interest is sparked, you will probably end up at Ecamm just because it's the easiest. That's how I got here. I got here after Wirecast and OBS and some of the other tools out there. Remember when we had, was it Cam Twist? That was just brutal. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you, Chuck. Right?
Be kind to Chuck. Be kind to Chuck.
That was a lot of work, right? And because like for us, we've been doing video podcasting when nobody else would even try it. But now it's not just about the podcast side anymore. It's so many good reasons to be doing video, whether you're just teaching someone or just want to look good in Zoom, because this Zoom outfit, this backdrop and stuff that we all do, that's our modern day business outfit these days, right? You have so many conversations on the platform. So we just want to, I guess, enlighten. It's almost like a Costco sample. You get like, man, that was good. I think I need 3 cases of that.
We're definitely doing a little bit of all of the above. So everything that you mentioned, we're planning to have a coffee and dessert hour to just get to know people better and be able to just facilitate conversation and networking. We are doing a session. We're going to chat a little bit about our experiences in the world of video. Doc's like been in it forever, and my kind of newer journey into getting into it, and building up camera confidence and kind of figuring out what to learn and how to learn without getting too beside myself with all the options. And then obviously we're on site. Mike has been kind enough to give us a space in a room where we're going to set up a kind of mini on-the-go studio space so that people can just come in, see what the tech looks like, see what Ecamm looks like, be able to ask any questions that they have. So
yeah, you can record little MacVoices.
Yeah, come on by.
Because Chuck has a cool portable setup that he carries around NAB that I absolutely love. It's just like
Awesome.
Chuck and a stick, he's good to go. So I think that stuff is cool, right? I think a lot of people still haven't fully grasped how simple it is, right? When we go to podcast conferences and people still think it's difficult, and I'm like, no, it's not. Like, it's really simple now. All you need is an Osmo Pocket and a stick, and you're good to go.
Yep, so true.
Yeah, Doc, you talk, obviously the early days of podcasting, we were all sort of cobbling together things and making it work. And you're right. Now we have not only so much better equipment, but so much better services and software. So that you're right. What used to take a fair amount of money and a whole lot of work, now you can set up and just run, and it's easy.
Yep.
So yeah, I kind of get excited about it. But I'm really interested in, and so I'm sort of stealing from the event you all just did and asking you, are you going to be focusing on individual creativity or communication? Or are you going to be focusing a little bit more on business? And maybe when I say business, I'm talking about things that not only people do for a living, but also, what they might volunteer for at their church or at their their school board or whatever. How do you position this when you're coming to something like Macstock?
We've been really focused this whole year, and maybe even a little bit earlier than that, on getting people to understand that video is a part of their everyday experience, whether or not they feel comfortable in it. They're going to be on video in one way or the other, as you said, whether it's in a volunteer organization, a Zoom meeting that they're doing with a client, presentation that they need to do. It is really has become so much of a part of our day-to-day world. And so we're going to make ourselves available to show people what's possible across the board. And we really have been focused on splitting it up into what the entire process looks like, regardless of the kind of video that you're creating. So what goes into planning and thinking about being successful in video, storyboarding, building the videos. What does that planning process look like? What does the actual production of it look like? So breaking down and kind of simplifying all of the gear and the tech and the software and the options that are available in actually producing and creating video, whether that's you by yourself in a meeting or it's you with a huge team running a large event like what we just did. And then all of the post-production side of it, right? So once you collect and create all of those different video assets, are you editing? Are you, sharing those out across social media? Are you taking all of that content, running it through some sort of AI tool and using it to populate a newsletter or a blog post? So what's the big picture possibility, and what does video look like these days? And how can we really make that process seamless and simple so that virtually anyone with any kind of background can feel confident and can create video that they're really proud of, regardless of what platform they're in or how they're using it?
Yeah, and I think about it too from the standpoint of, like, you mentioned someone who's maybe volunteering at a church, right? Smaller churches before used to sort of envy the bigger establishments where they had like a whole AV team. We have guys in our community who basically show up with a small suitcase, Rodecaster Pro, couple of PTZ cameras, and a Mac Mini or a MacBook Pro, and they're fully able to put together a whole setup, for their church. And one of our moderators, Jeremy, he does that. He just shows up, he controls all the PTZs, and he went so as far as to set him up to, he didn't even have to leave his house. with some of the cool stuff built in the Ecamm and Bit Commander, he's like controlling his whole church from like 100 miles away. So, like, I think this is the
kind no longer has to go to church.
Yeah. Don't tell his wife that. I promised I wouldn't snitch. But these are just the cool stuff that we can do now. And like you said, the accessibility for everyone to just jump in now is so easy. I think a lot of it is a combination of dispelling myths and overcoming some of the old sort of mindset things that were there involved, as well as the tech. So I think it's fun for us to get an opportunity to show people sort of both sides of it.
Yeah.
And Katie's correct. Like it or not, you kind of have no choice but to do video these days. Sometimes it's just to show up at the PTA meeting. And so I'll give an example. Let's say you are a realtor or doctor or insurance salesman, whatever the case may be, and you show up into the school's PTA meeting and your studio looks like this. Everybody else is on the nose cam or their phone, sideways in their kitchen. Everyone's going to say to you, "Hey, how do you do that?" And then you spark a conversation. Well, that's conversation you just sparked. They're like, I've been thinking about getting my my bridge work, changed to some modern tech. When can I come in? Oh yeah, I got a space for you in like 2 weeks. So you're accidentally building customers just because you show up looking better. And it doesn't mean like looking like a supermodel. You're just not that person on Zoom where their head keeps disappearing or the background is all weird because you're trying to use some weird effects. People that show up looking good in Zoom, you actually get clients from it. And I know this because we have people in our community tell us this on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
It is a new world in so many ways. And video is such a big part of it. I also think, though, that we have a situation now where our attention spans have been compressed and challenged, and you have to have something to grab someone. And so if you have a 4-page proposal, I don't care how good it is, that versus a 2-minute video is the proposal's going to lay on the table.
Exactly.
Yep. And we are even seeing it more and more, even incoming to us, right? Like now we don't get like any presentations or proposals or anything in writing. They all come in as a video, and it makes a really huge difference in how you pay attention to it. And even if you don't watch it, what's so cool these days is that if you start with video and you put that effort in, like all of these AI tools and services that are available to us, they all start with the transcript of a video, right? So you have typically the transcript below, so you can skim it, but because someone's recorded in video, you still hear their personality. It feels friendlier. It feels less robotic than a more formal presentation would. You really get a sense of who you're in contact with. So I find myself, like, even if I haven't yet gotten around to watching the video, just even seeing that transcript below, I often will scan it and be like, oh, great, I need to follow up with that later. I need to check that later. So it's a really wonderful starting point for virtually every aspect of business, regardless of industry.
So here's one for you that's going to be a little tougher. How do we get people convinced? Katie's just chomping at the bit. How do we get people who say, well, I really don't have anything to say and I don't have anything to sell and I really don't volunteer anywhere. And, I just sort of live my normal life and I'm not a techie. How do we get them to appreciate what an impact just a little bit of video can have? And now I'm thinking exactly the opposite direction. Not business, not volunteers, but just making them understand that if the kid's away at college or if the grandparents are in Hawaii, Doc, how do we get them to appreciate just how important that is and now how easy it is to do that video thing?
I can give a prime example. In Hawaii, we have a large community of people that say originate from Okinawa, came to Hawaii during the sugar boom, where CNH was building all the sugar plantations and things. I had a buddy of mine and his grandmother passed away, but a whole bunch of the family in Okinawa, they just couldn't come to the proceedings. And so we were like, oh, we got Ecamm. We'll set you up. So we brought a Mac Mini, a couple of small, remember those Canon Vixia HC40s
Sure.
or something? Really small Canon cameras. They're like $100 a piece now. We set 3 of them up. We put it together, plugged in a couple of iPhones and the MiFi, and we were able to allow her family to see the proceedings all the way in Okinawa from Hosoi Mortuary in Honolulu. And to me, as a person helping my friend out, watching the family share their memories and do their stories, and because of Ecamm, we're even able to allow the people in Okinawa to speak to the people in the room. That's humanity. It has nothing to do with tech. I actually really get cheesed when people say I'm not a techie. I'm like, your refrigerator has auto temperature control in it. Your car has a computer. Your microwave can make popcorn without putting in a number. Now you hit the popcorn button. You're a tech whether you like it or not. Get over that statement and just get in. And I know that's a little tough, but it's just the reality of it. And when you're able to do something like, very human connecting, like doing a service like that, or even for myself, a month and a half ago, I've had to build a slideshow for my other half. Her dad passed, and collecting all of the images from the family. That would have been weeks before, but now in a group chat in the shared Apple library, on the phone, anybody has pictures of Pops, put them in the folder, and I can go into Final Cut and build something while the family is watching. Like everybody's watching me build it. And they were like, oh, this is cool. Oh, this is really cool. And to watch them and their reactions and the memories that they're having from before I became part of the family, to me, I mean, you can't replace that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because I distinctly remember when people started webcasting their weddings or funerals. And the initial reaction was, oh, aren't they egotistical or aren't they showing off or something along those lines? And then if you attend one of those events, either one, once or twice, you realize just how impactful it can be because you can't be everywhere all at once. But even if it's just on your phone, you can feel like you're there, share the experience. The good and the bad of the experience, and it's extremely powerful. And I wish more people would understand that.
Remember like 3 or 4 years ago, Apple did the commercial of the kids making a slideshow about grandma at Christmas.
Yeah.
That commercial broke people. It had people crying. And, I always tell people, that's one of the things I really like about them. They don't get into the specs and stuff in their commercial. They leave that up to us. We get on here and start fighting about why there's no M4 Ultra, so and so on, et cetera. But they just hit you with emotion. And so many people I know say, yeah, I saw that commercial and it made me cry, And I think you're right. Like, these are ways that people can connect now that it's just different. I have friends. Remember when they said, Chuck, which is funny because this is you and I. Remember when they said, you're never going to meet any friends on the internet? If you tried to tell me Chuck's not my friend, I will fight you.
Absolutely.
And we completely met on the internet.
Yeah.
Yep. And how many years was it later? And how many times had we interacted on the internet before we actually got to shake hands in person?
I would say easily 200 times because we did. Go sneeze. Katie's allergic to us. I mean, you think about all of the times we did the Big Show or the Mac Show or combinations of both and all myriad sorts of podcasts and so many friends in between. It was a lot, and then we get to Macworld. And then, of course, Macworld got taken away. And it was like, oh, man, when am I going to see my buddies? And I swear from the last Macworld, which was 2014, until last year at NAB, like we hadn't seen each other for like 10 years.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like there's a lot of time because, well, we're always in communication through each other's shows or posts or, things like that. So, yeah, I mean, that's what it's about to be. It's about the connection.
Yeah, I agree. And somebody's going to say, "Oh well, but you guys are on podcast together, and you do that." No, you can do it with something as simple as FaceTime, or you can have something like Ecamm that lets you do a whole lot, enhance the experience a whole lot more, and do a whole lot more.
Yeah. Strangely enough, now with the new updates, we can actually put Ecamm in the FaceTime. So. Even if you just wanted to show all of those pictures and things to your family, or maybe here's a cool one. So I am currently working with my niece, who she doesn't live super far from me, but it is 17 miles in traffic. I can do her advanced chem homework or her organic chem with her. I can help her, practice her Japanese through things like FaceTime and Ecamm, because I can bring up the kanji on the slide. She can see me writing on my iPad, and then I'm like looking at her kanji and I'm like, this is kind of off, kid. I'm gonna need you to practice that a little bit more. But imagine, someone who's, Nona still lives in Italy and they want to brush up on their Italian. And you just invite her like we invite each other today and like, okay, Nona, teach me some Italian. And these are just things that we weren't able to do in the past as well. I mean, there was always the phone, but it's a little bit different when it's audio visual.
I think it also opens up the door to, I mean, even live streaming, which has in itself changed so dramatically over the last few years, certainly, where it was this kind of more niche thing that, a certain group of people would do. And then obviously when the pandemic hit, more and more people started connecting with each other through video and more people were live streaming. And I feel like now with the trajectory of where podcasting is going, it's really neat that we can create these experiences even with people that we don't know but feel connected to, whether that's our favorite, YouTuber, or our favorite podcaster or content creator out there. It's now no longer I listen to them, once a week and it's just, I'm just taking in what they're giving. Now it's, I can join in on their, Patreon only live stream event where I can go and ask my questions, or, maybe they're doing a special, meet and greet that's in a video space and I can go and interact and feel like I'm part of their community, which we just never had access to do before. It was just like, kind of like, true. Those are the famous people and we're the everyday people. And now all of us can be creating and connecting, and it really equalizes, I think, all of us, and gives the opportunity for people to really connect in all the amazing ways that Doc was just saying, but with people that they don't know or maybe would never have met in the quote unquote real world. They're now able to really have these incredible relationships with.
Chuck, we had a good word that kept coming up in our conference this week, and I don't know how I never heard this word, but it's absolutely hilarious. For the people who kind of describe, say, maybe the way we used to be back in our IRC days or chatting on AOL, but they call them textroverts now.
Textroverts, I know.
Right? So, like, if they're in a public space, they're not talking to anyone. But at home with the keyboard, even though the camera's there, like, I can be way more engaging with the combination of typing and the protection of that Sony ZV-E10 and some lights is so different from meeting up at the Moscone Center or, at Samovar Tea or something. Like, you just feel a little bit more relaxed because you have have the comfort of your chair, your environment, your lack of pants, Steve Sandy, so forth, so on, and etc. Right? I just think that is kind of sort of a thing, and I love hearing that word because I know we have tons of friends that sort of fit that description where they're totally happy, in the environment of with their keyboard or whatever, but maybe in public they wouldn't be as say sort of forthcoming.
Yeah, agreed. Katie, you took me right where I wanted to go because that was the other thing before we wrap up. That I wanted.
She's good like that.
Yes, I mean she's psychic is what's happening here. Because I will say I use I'm a little bit old school because I use Ecamm as a tool and then post produce. And so, and I've heard people say, yes, Ecamm is great for that, or, oh, you're really missing out because you're not live streaming. And,
interesting.
And I look at it as, okay, I can't always live stream conveniently to an audience. I don't even sometimes know when I'm, for example, we just set this up. And I would think that the potential audience is probably not out there at the time that we're recording this. So there's no chance for me to really say, hey, guys, I'm going to have Doc and Katie on. So I use it as a tool and then post-produce. Do you see it? Is that a viable usage, or am I just twisting it the way it shouldn't go? And you see it just as a live streaming
No, lots of people do it your way. So many people do it your way, man. But, I will give you one thing. Even if it's sort of a drive-by live, is which I would call, if we did this live today, but we didn't have time to really schedule it, whatever, the one thing that's really dope about a drive-by live is your recorded content is going to be auto-transcribed once you put it up to YouTube or many of the other platforms. That is now part of the search engine results when you search for something. Because of generative search, they're pulling the text out of the transcripts from audio recordings. So even podcasts that are being properly add the transcript to Libsyn or wherever you're doing your thing, those come up in search as the first 5 to 10 results. Secondarily, video. And then they get to all of your blog pages and stuff. So us old school guys who used to write a lot, like we are now at the bottom of the page and we're the last 3 results before they tell you to go to page 2. And I really wrapped my head around this about 2 years ago, and I cannot stop singing this praise. The reason why Google is doing that, in the past, if I was to search for something and I want to see a conversation between Chuck and Allison, I would click that link and I would leave the Google verse to go to, her website. And then there's just conversations or stuff that you guys are put up there. Google's no longer selling ads on that. So they don't really make money from that. But if they're giving you all the results on the page and the next results are YouTube, they have 2 different opportunities to sell you an ad.
Hook you either way.
Either way. Which, well, I don't want them to make money. Well, too bad, because guess what? They introduce you to more people that you don't know because that is the vehicle that they operate in, right? The phone book was never doing anything to keep you in the phone book, but with the Google is saying, if Chuck is producing all these things, including a live, I can send them to the live, I can send them to the recording, I can send them to his website, all of the above. I have opportunity to sell ads. I'm going to tell everybody about Chuck and MacVoices. So the advantage of doing it as a live is building a community around MacVoices, which you have, but it gives them a chance to talk with each other. But it also just adds to your Google food so that people can find you and you sort of develop I guess I should have turned that coffee machine off. People develop your connection that way. So it is kind of amazing. And I don't know, I think it's just fun. I really do think it's fun. I am looking forward to something that we've been talking about in Ecamm for about 3 years, but it's finally coming to fruition, and that's the live selling. I want to see Andy Green, when he has something new from 12 South, just pop up in his office and be like, hey guys, look, we're always making cool stuff for the Mac. Look at this thing we just made. Because 12 South makes the most incredible things, but QVC never sells me anything I want. But if Andy popped up, I probably bought it because I buy pretty much everything he makes.
Well, and you built up the trust with him. So I'm actually a really good example of this, thanks in huge part to Doc. So I was very much I come from a writing background. I have an English literature degree. I'm totally a writing person who is terrified about the idea of being on camera and on video, and live streaming was even scarier. So it was like the absolutely not going to happen. And I was sort of forced into it kicking and screaming. And I now do like a fun, just for me podcast that is that I live record. So I live record it on YouTube. So anyone can come in and join that moment and be part of that experience. And I initially thought, okay, I'll do this because now I'm much more comfortable with live streaming. It'll keep me accountable. So like in the odd chance that someone actually shows up to this, I know that they might be there. So I'm more likely to not, bail or cancel or change my plans around. But it really has become this like very special experience that has really changed how I approach my show. It's built this like incredible community. Now, like they're giving me, suggestions for episodes. They're coming on as guests, and there's a magic in it that I think I really would have missed. And part of it is YouTube spending a lot of time making sure that is like, they want people to be on their platform. They're, as Doc just said, they're positioning it more and more. And the other part is that it's just because I'm doing everything publicly, there are a lot of people who have YouTube on their TVs. They have so it gives them the opportunity to feel like they're part of the experience and part of the show rather than swinging over and checking out my podcast.
It's a listenable show.
Yeah.
So that's the key. You don't have to I can have Katie on and I could be in the kitchen, prepping food or cleaning the kitchen or getting yelled at by Karen. The show is listenable. So I don't have to be sitting at my chair staring at the TV, and you'll see more and more stuff showing up on YouTube, especially when the TV, you go into Apple TV, you open the YouTube app, a lot of the things that it's going to show you, because YouTube is so smart, is going to show you things that you can listen to and you don't necessarily have to sit there and stare at.
Yeah.
So that's where the video podcast game is blowing up right now.
So all that to say, I don't think you are wrong in what you're doing. And the cool thing about a tool like Ecamm is that you really
roll your own.
You really can, use it in any way you want to. For me, the benefit of live streaming my recording process is that it's much easier because I'm not doing a ton of editing on the other side. And I'm also building this community and this kind of really special experience as part of it, which is helping to grow my show. So there's a ton of different options and flexibility out there.
Watch all my old movies.
Yeah, my show's all about old movies, so Doc can jump on and give me all of the advice. But it is amazing the how professional the content can look and how easy it can be when you sort of release the perfectionism and overthinking of all of it. Like what got in my way, I think, really is that I had always approached video from this concept of it has to be this huge production in something that I don't have a skill set in. So it was like, I'm a writer. So I would have to write the script, and then I would have to hire a videography team, explain my vision to them, have them come in, record, I'd have to memorize maybe a script. I'd have to say those lines in and do it over and over again and have, probably knowing me, have panic attacks, lay on the floor and cry for a little bit, never be happy with the result, spend a ton of time and money in that entire process. And it just always felt really daunting and really, huge. And in all the hugeness also that I wasn't going to get to the result that I wanted in my perfectionist brain. Whereas now, tools like Ecamm give you all of that control from the very start, and you are able to build things the way that makes sense for your brain. So for me, I can build out all of my scenes like a presentation. I can label them exactly how I want, and whether I'm recording it or I'm streaming it, I can literally just click next, and go through it. And then at the end, the video is done, and I can pause it if I want to. I could edit if I want to, but I've gotten so comfortable with the idea of it's just like I'm giving a presentation. And I'm actually now when there are live viewers giving me feedback, that spurs me on and gives me a lot more confidence. So it is interesting. I think it's a bit of a mindset shift, but I do think that what's cool about it is ideally, if you can get kind of through the perfectionism and figure out the path to video that works well for you, then you can save yourself a ton of time and be able to get those reps in and build that confidence up.
Don't worry, Chuck. We're going to get you.
There's no doubt in my
Chuck can
mind.
stay wherever he wants.
There's no doubt in my mind. But before we leave this, I wanted to say something that you both just said in the last 3 minutes. Doc said it first, you said it second, Katie, but you both said the word fun. And that's something that I think that we all get a little bit wrapped up in the production and the tech and all because that's what we love. But at the end of the day, it's fun to do this. It might be a little intimidating at first, but it is fun to do it. It's sort of like the first time you took a picture, a decent quality picture. It was fun to have that. It's fun to do this. It's fun to do it with other people or maybe just for yourself. But that's the thing I would love to leave everyone here with and get them to come and talk to you both at Macstock, because I think that they need to understand this is fun. It's not something you need to stress out over or have a grand plan. I think that's really, really important.
Absolutely. So true. Yeah, absolutely. We promise we're really fun. Come and hang out with us and ask us questions and spend some time with us. We'd love to meet you.
Yeah, well, if they can't tell that from this interview, then we can't help them. So obviously Ecamm is you can find it out there. There's a YouTube channel for it there if you want to dig in a little bit beforehand, or just come cold and talk to Katie and Doc and let them show you what it can do for you and your whatever it is that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds
you
good.
have either way, like you said, it's just fun. All you need is an iPhone and you can start from there. If you got other cameras, we can make it work. We'll have fun showing you how to do all the cool stuff. So yeah, I'm just happy to see all you guys have come through.
Yeah. But I do have a suggestion. I suggest you go to Katie first, because if you get a Doc, he'll cost you money. So
yeah, he's trying to back his way out of that, Chuck. He keeps saying that that's on you if you take his advice.
Yeah,
he's cost me a lot of money over the years.
But he's got so many great toys. It's like, oh, Doc, I need that.
It's his enthusiasm. There is something about seeing someone using a piece of tech with like such excitement and in such cool ways. You're like, oh, why do I not have one of those?
Hey, in my defense, I'm not as bad as Alex Lindsay. He's way more expensive than me. So I'm just under him. I'm second place.
Okay. That's a fair point, Doc. That's a fair point.
That checks out, right?
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see you both in Crystal Lake in July at Macstock Conference and Expo. Thank you so much for the time here. We will hopefully do another interview there to talk a little bit more, maybe just a little more in depth about Ecamm.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you soon, Chuck.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks so much. Folks, we're on the road to Macstock. We want you to join us. Mike Potter has been very kind and has given us a discount code. So if you use the code MacVoices50 when you register, you can get $50 off of the attending ticket. And that will help buy you at least one toy that Doc will convince you that you have to have. But again, Macstock Conference and Expo, make your hotel reservations now, book your plane, book your train, whatever you need. Get there, because we're going to have a blast. And if you're not getting a sense of that from the Road to Macstock series, you're really missing the point. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.